Welcome back to the Gravel Gospel. I'm Bionic Leg. So where we last leave off, Abraham and his crew they're heading up to Canaan. Words are hard, but they end up settling in Haran, place not the person. When they're in Haran, God comes to Abraham with a direct command and this beastly promise. Told him, He says, "Go from your country and your kindred and all your family's house to the land that I'm going to show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I'm going to make your name great, so that you will be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And you, all the families of the earth, they're going to be blessed." This is the moment that God sets his plan in motion for Abram. What's really cool and I find encouraging about this is Abraham is roughly 75 years old when God calls him. Completely flips the idea on its head that you have to be young and full of energy for God to call you and do incredible things. Abraham's 75, and God says, "You're just getting started, my dude." So God tells him, He says, "I'm going to make your name great. And even more, I'm going to make of you a great nation." So that nation part, it's going to come into play much later. But anyways, so they bounce. They head to the land of Canaan. When they get there, or when they're on their way, they pass through a land called Shechem. Specifically, it's the Oak of Morah. So the Oak of Morah, that'll come into play a little bit later, but just remember that name. So the people at that time that are occupying that area, they're called, wait for it, Canaanites. Kind of obvious because they're on their way to the land of Canaan, but this is going to be relevant a little bit later. Okay. So, anyways, so God shows up while they're traveling. They're at the oak. God shows up again, and he tells Abram, he says, "Tell your offspring, I will give you this land." Notice how God uses the word offspring. Again, it's weird. Abram's 75. How does this work? Hold on to that. So, just like Noah before Abram builds an altar to the Lord out of gratitude for appearing to him in that place. So, sets up the altar, and you see this a lot throughout the Old Testament. God does something really cool, and who he does it through, that person, they set up an altar. Think a memorial, right? Something happens at this place, same general principle, okay? So sets up the altar at that place because God showed up. So then from there, they move to the hill country east of Bethel, and then Abram sets up a tent. But it's interesting because it's very specific, and it says that he positioned Bethel to his west and then Ai to his east. So at that spot, he builds another altar to the Lord and calls on his name. Okay, so he builds up the second altar, and then they move on. So they finally get to the outskirts of Egypt. When they get there, it says there's a famine in the land. So Abram decides, okay, we need to set up camp here for a bit and then hang out. But before they go into Egypt, is the first time you see Abram kind of biff it, but understand the thought process. So right before they go into Egypt, Abram tells Sarai in his infinite wisdom, and this still kind of makes me go, all right, I guess we're doing this. He says, "I know that you're a beautiful woman. And when the Egyptians see you, they're going to go," keep in mind, I'm paraphrasing here. They're going to go, "Yep," as his wife. "They're going to kill me and let you live. So if anyone asks, you're my sister. Hopefully, they're not going to kill me because they think you're my sister. And shoot, they might hook us up because we're traveling. There's a bunch of us. We ain't got a whole lot. So maybe it'll work well for us." Okay. So on one hand, good for Abram for saying, "Hey, Sarai, you're gorgeous." And that's obviously, but it's still kind of cool. But then knowing what they could be walking into, the fact that he tells Sarai to lie and go, hey, if anybody asks, you're my sister. Assuming locals are going to kill him. But, anyways, I get that out of the way. So they get down to Egypt, and Abram called it. Okay, let's just be real. He called it. Locals see how smoking hot Sarai is. To the extent that Pharaoh, his Prince of Seer, like, so his dude, it's dudes, plural. They see her. They see how gorgeous they are. What do? Go straight to Pharaoh. They're like, boss, you got to see this woman that just came into town. She's smoking. And what does Pharaoh do? Go get her. I want to see this. And so they get Sarai. She says that, hey, Abram's sister. She goes into Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh hooks Abram up. He gives him sheep. He gives him oxen. He get breeding pairs. And so it's interesting. So in the scripture it says, and I quote, he gives him sheep, oxen, a male donkey, male and female servants, and female donkeys. So basically, he takes care of Abram. Okay. So now he's got herds, and we don't really know how much he had before this, but Pharaoh having all that, he gives him even more. So now he's got additionally more sheep, oxen, breeding pairs of donkeys, and he's got men and women servants. Kind of crazy. So there's a line in there that says she was taken into Pharaoh's house. I don't know how many times I've read this, and I don't know why, but it never really clicked what that meant. I'm like, okay, does that mean concubine? Does that mean harem? What does that mean? And as I'm reading through it, getting ready for this video, I just need to read a little bit further, and then it straight says Pharaoh took her as his wife. So there you go. Anyways, so she's part of Pharaoh's house now, and God having his hand on Abram's family, even though Abram biffed it, he's like, no, you're not taking Sarai. That belongs. I don't want to say belong. That's not the right word, but that's Abram's wife. So God rains some gnarly plagues on Pharaoh. Pharaoh and his house just jacks up Pharaoh's household because of Sarai. So this freaks out Pharaoh. I mean, the timing is just bonkers. Here comes this woman, just comes into town. Nobody knows who they are. She's gorgeous. Pharaoh's like, I want to marry her. And then all of a sudden, his household just gets smoked with plagues. This is bonkers. So Pharaoh is like, yo, I need that Abram here right now. And Pharaoh asks him, he doesn't even skip a beat. What is this that you've done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister so that I'm going to take her as my wife? Either way, doesn't matter. Take you, take your wife, take your donkey and your cow and get out of here. So Pharaoh doesn't take the stuff back because culturally it was, he gave Abram the stuff, gives Sarai back, and they bounce. So shorter video. Next couple of videos are going to be a little shorter, but this is, I want to break these parts up into chunks because they all feed on to each other. So the next video we're going to see with Abram, because Lot is still with them. Lot and his crew, they're still with them. We're going to start to see there's some contention among the servants because there's so much. They've got so much, which is awesome. God is blessing them, and they're moving on. So that all being said, I'm Bionic Leg. This is the Gravel Gospel. Appreciate you.